Well, it's time to put on some rear leaf springs on this Ford pick-em-up truck. We've got some Skyjack or soft ride rear springs. We chose those because they were in stock over at Jegs, which was convenient because they're a half hour away from us. They allow us to get a lot of things done a lot faster than when we have to mail order everything. But we're going to do a 4-inch lift in the back, see where it ends up sitting, and then we'll adjust it with a 1-inch or a 2-inch block to get it to a level stance, which is what the end goal is. Get this thing situated. We'll get these leaves pulled out of here and get the new leaves installed. And then we will be closer to the ride height we are looking for to run 33-inch tire, probably a 33 12.5. I would like to see him put some old Western turbines on it. I think they would look amazing on this truck. Some old 5-slot kidney bean holes. Those mags would look really good on it. But I don't know if he's going for a vintage look or if he's going to put modern wheels on it. We'll see. That's for his decision to make. Ordered. Put this in silent so it doesn't bother me all day. Are you guys like me? Do you have to turn your phones off at work because it beeps at you like 87 times and causes more of a distraction and makes your ADD that much worse? Jeez. Got a split stream. Hopefully all these come loose. I think they will. There's really no signs of major corrosion on this truck. Oh, I screwed myself. I didn't think about where that bolt needed to go. Bolt goes right into my lift point for my lift. So my next obstacle to overcome well, poop. Well, I got a hold of the good folks over at Skyjacker down in Louisiana. And they didn't have an answer for me, but I did determine after a little research that the 2-wheel drive trucks use a 2.5-inch leaf spring and the 4-wheel drive trucks use a 3-inch leaf spring. So I just ordered front spring hangers, front and rear, this hanger and shackle assembly, and this front hanger assembly, and they will be here in like 4 or 5 days. So I'm gonna put this thing back together. Luckily for me, when I took it apart, I just took it apart and I didn't like torch the U-bolts or anything out of it. I was lucky enough that it all came apart. So I'm just gonna put it back together so I can get it out of my way so that I can use my bay. And that's that. I'm not even gonna put the nuts on it. I'm just gonna pull it outside and let it sit until the rest of my bits get here. Things you don't know until you know. did a little research and I found that the frame mounts, or the leaf spring to frame mounts and brackets, are still available, and the four-wheel drive ones are the correct width, and the four-wheel drive ones actually give about a 1/2 inch of lift as well, which works perfectly for the roughly 5 inches we're looking to get out of this rear leaf with the 4-inch leaf springs. So I'm going to go ahead and take off one side, and we'll take off the brackets, mount our new brackets, excuse me, and we'll see how they fit. I think it's going to work out just fine. It's a creative solution to a unique problem that I wasn't expecting to run into, but I'm going to guess not too many guys lift two-wheel drive trucks. But we're going to find the solution that works to allow us to use the rear leaf springs instead of just slapping 5-inch blocks in between the frame and the spring, or in between the spring and the axle. So you can see my new frame bracket up front is I don't know, maybe an inch taller, somewhere around that. We'll figure that out once we get the old one off. Then we have our new rear bracket, which is a little bit, has a little taller stance as well. We'll figure that out once we have the bracket off. Let's go ahead and get these leaves off, and we'll get some stuff repositioned. I'm going to go ahead and slot my rivets to make them easier to cut off with an air hammer or air chisel. Reuse those if I wanted to. Probably. Got all those guys off. Let's punch them out. I might be due for a new air hammer. I have been using this one for close to 30 years, so you can see my bolt holes line up. These bolt holes are off, I don't know, about the thickness of the bolt, which is fine. It's a little added lift. We'll take it. These new mounts came with mounting hardware, so let's get them installed. Keep moving forward. This is going to take a little time. I got some more rivets to knock out, so I'm going to fast forward to installing these, because I'll be honest with you, that's a lot of noise that you guys don't want to listen to. Neither do I, but you guys definitely don't want to hear that on microphone. Alright, my new brackets are in. Let's hang a leaf spring up in here. Alright, so my new rear mounts did come with hardware and a new shackle, which works out really well because, you know, they're all different sizes. The old bolts aren't going to fit the wider spring. So, I'm going to go ahead and put my shackle on my leaf spring. I'm going to shuck this leaf spring up in here, put in the last two bolts, and then we can see where we sit. I may have to modify the exhaust due to the different arc of the spring, but hopefully we won't have to do that. Let me get this thing up in here. Oh. Ouch. Yowzas. It's quite a different spring than what was on there. Go Camaro. This road's shut down right now, about 1.5 miles down the way, and it's a big straight run, so cars have been down here just abusing this 1.5 miles of asphalt for the last few months. Can't say that I blame them. This is a very overcomplicated way to do this lift, but I think it's going to look really good when it's done. And it won't have the problems of axle wrap associated with a 5-inch block in the back. So we're going to keep with the course and continue until we get to the final end of the battle. I'm questioning whether or not I'm going to have to replace my spring perches on that are welded to the axle, because they may need to be in a different location with the wider leafs. But it looks like this leaf brackets are equally spread to hold the leaf spring in the same place. So I don't know, we'll see once I get the axle down, or the other spring in, and have the axle level. We'll be able to determine that. Things that make you go I don't know, it's alright. We got one side done. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side put in, and then we'll keep moving forward and we'll see where this thing sits. I am going to have to do different U-bolt perches or U-bolt plates, because the old plates are for a 2.5 inch spring instead of a 3-inch spring. So I'll see if I can figure out a solution for that. So I'll get that part coming too, or I'll have to build one. Let's measure those center pins. I think it'll be all right. Well, it looks like I'm going to get lucky on the spring width. Looks like it's the same, so I can just open up my hole for my spring bolt to locate my axle, and I'll enlarge that, and I need to get my upper plates, and I can bolt my axle in, and then I'll tighten up all my hardware once it's sitting on the alignment rack. But it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to ride nice for a lifted truck. Heck yeah, man. I like it. Actually, my brake line's long enough at full droop, so I think we're good there. I'll make a new breather for it. Get it up out of the water, because you know, when we do water crossings, we don't want our axles to get full of water. Yeah, it's looking alright. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, so I got my new spring plates, 3-inch wide springs. These are adjustable. I did open up the center hole to accommodate my nut for my center pin. I got these long U-bolts on here for temporary purposes to figure out where our final ride height's going to be. We may need to go with a block, but honestly, with the new leaf perches, I don't think we're going to need anything more than the 4-inch Skyjacker soft ride. I think that's going to work out perfectly for what we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side U-bolted, put the wheels back on, and then I'll pull it outside. I did order a different set of shocks. The original set of shocks I ordered were too long. Those were for four-wheel drive application in the same vehicle. There's a lot of little differences in the two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and shock length is one of them. Also, rear shock upper mounting is different for the four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive. So, learning all sorts of neat little nuggets that I never thought I would need to know on this job. But it should be a pretty awesome lift when we're done. And we went and picked up some proper U-bolts for it. So I'm going to put on my U-bolts, lock those down, and then we'll throw a 33-12-5 on a 10-inch rim on here so you can see what it's going to look like. But I think that's going to be the right wheel and tire size for this vehicle. And then I have to figure out why the front brakes stay on it. I'm going to guess maybe the master cylinder is sticking, so I may be putting a master cylinder on it. That's the most logical thing, in my head at any rate, that after you press the brakes a couple times, it's like it's got a line lock. It's a beautiful truck. Pretty excited to be finishing this one up. I definitely like the height. The altitude adjustment was worth the work. And it is gorgeous today. Like 80 degrees, it's sunny, not a cloud in the sky. Oh, come on. Oh, I don't need to put the drum on. Let me get my deep socket. Let's change these guys out. Right. So we had the boys over at Frame and Spring make us some proper U-joints. A little bit bigger than the ones I had. They're about the same length. It doesn't matter. These are, I just bought those to get this project moving. But I wanted to have at least the same thickness as what was on it when it came to me. So we went over and had them build us some nice ones. Put a little oil on that. When I put stuff together, I like it to be beefy. These other U-bolts came with these washers. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. Can't see it. And these come with these washers, which are going to hold a better torque on the plate. These spring U-bolt plates are from Barnes 4x4. They are a super nice piece. I think I mentioned that earlier. But I like to give credit to the people who make the parts that we use here in the shop. Because without them, we can't build cool stuff. And I like building cool stuff. That's a good start. Alright, let's do the other side. Locked and loaded. That is the beefiest spring plate I think I have ever seen. Looks good though. Looks like I need to get a hammer and knock my U-bolts around a little bit. Just a second. Now from the back you can see these don't necessarily look like they're perfectly vertical. Looks like they're pretty close. I'll hit them with a torque wrench one more time. Probably not enough to worry about, but better to do it correctly than have it come loose down the line. We want our stuff to stay attached. All right, let's do the other side. Barnes four-wheel drive. They've got all sorts of custom four-wheel drive bits that they make here in the United States. And I will say I am very impressed with their spring plate. And I will be using their products in the future. Nice. And that's that. Got a 33 right there. Let's throw that up on there. This is an old 33 12.5 that's lived on the back of my CJ7 for the last 20 years. So CJ7 and Wide 5 Ford are the same. That's not quite high enough. Oh, still not quite high enough. Really? There we go. Perfect. That looks amazing. Heck yeah. That's going to be tough as nails with some 33 12.5s on 10-inch rims with a 4-inch backspace. That's going to look good. Sadly, you can't buy wide track Baja MTs anymore. They don't make them. She's going to have some attitude now, boys. Well, I drove this thing in here last night, and you can see the brakes are still dragging after being off the pedal all night. So is it the master cylinder or is it the calipers? The caliper hoses are brand new braided units. I don't think it's the hoses, but I think what we'll do is we'll drop it down to the ground and I will unbolt the master cylinder and then I'll lift it back up without touching anything and see if the wheels are freed up. That'll tell us if the master cylinder is staying engaged either due to the brake booster or maybe the master cylinder's got some junk in it and it's just binding up and not returning. Got a bit of a power steering leak there. Might have to address that. Old school cooler. Pretty cool little unit. No fins, just tubes, but it still transfers the heat. Oh man, this truck is so clean, it's unreal. Looks like it had some body work done on that fender. The back side of the fenders always tells you a little bit more about the truck and what's been done to it. A little bit of a floor pan repair. A little putty to fill the hole. It's alright. This thing's gorgeous. Some pinholes they filled in, covered up. Such a solid truck, man. Heck yeah, man. I don't think you can find a cleaner truck. At least not in Ohio. This thing's gonna be great. Oh, it hit concrete. Yay! There you are. Found it. The master's gross and wet. Let's see if the brakes have released from me letting it out. Brakes are still locked. So let's relieve pressure on the calipers. So we probably need to rebuild or replace our brake calipers. And I would honestly recommend a master cylinder as well. Because as soon as we put all fresh fluid in it, it's going to end up starting to leak anyway. Let's crack our bleeder. Maybe, or break our bleeder. I cracked one bleeder and they both released. It's got to be a problem in the master cylinder. It's not a hose. If it was a hose, it wouldn't have released this tire. So it's either proportioning valve, if this even has one. This is disc drum, so it probably does. Well, let's hook the master back up. We'll cycle the brakes again and see if it'll lock them up again. And then we'll go from there. Alright, let's see if I can do this without dropping my nuts this time. Pump the brakes a couple times. The brake pedal does have a little bit of free play before it engages. All right. Well, that's weird. Now it's not doing it. I guess I'll drive it. See if it acts up again. That was really strange. Odd. Definitely needs a brake fluid flush. Because the brake fluid in this thing is disgusting. Well, I'm going to run a torque wrench across these lug nuts and we'll go for a test drive. I like test drives. Time for a test drive. This is the kind of wheel I see on this truck. As it rolls away. Yeah, that would look really good with a little more. The body would be about 3 inches higher, but still, I think that would look good. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this old truck. I'm really glad we spent the extra time, money, and work to do the 4-inch soft ride rear leaf springs. And with that, we had to upgrade to the 4-wheel drive bracketry, frame brackets, and it was worth it because this thing rides very, very nice. I think the ride quality was worth the extra work. Rides nice, drives nice, stops good. I am gonna bleed the brake system out so that we have fresh fluid throughout, and that will probably improve my brake pedal a little bit. And then we'll monitor the calipers and master cylinder. If it ends up locking the front brakes again, we'll figure out what that was causing that. I'm gonna guess it was a piece of trash in the master cylinder that maybe when I bled it, it got dislodged, and now it seems to be working fine. Hence the reason I'm gonna bleed the brakes entirely, because that way I can get all that schmutz out of there. Last thing to do is reclock the steering wheel on the column and then call the customer, let him know he's ready to go drive his truck and make a wheel and tire choice. I like the vintage Western turbines. Those are a 15-spoke turbine. They look really good on these and on CJs. That's actually what I picked up to put on mine. Except I think the ones I got for the CJ they might be a 30. I don't know, I'll have to count them. They're more splines than 15. But whatever, it's all good. Thanks for coming along for the ride on this one. It's taken me a while, but I've had a lot of disruptions kind of causing me delays. I apologize for that, but you get done what you can get done and you move on to the next project. And this one's done and it's time to move on to the next project. Thanks for coming along with us. We're at 40,000 subscribers. Very honored to have you guys watching the things we do. And big thank you to all our customers who trust us with their vehicles. Without you guys, we don't have a shop. Have a great day. See you on the next one.